We're sitting in church one Sunday.
This is Auto Collabs.
And the wooden like pews.
Mm-hmm.
And our pastor gets up and he's like he's giving his sermon, and then he's like, and do you want to know what Jesus said? And from the back of the thing, we just hear
and
I
got him.
I'm like, that's where I learned the nose trick, like to suffocate yourself so that you don't breathe. But I was like squeaking out of my ears. It was like, and it just would, for all the sound engineers in the room, sound waves, sine waves across
reverberation. It was in one of those old churches that had the really high ceilings anyway, and it was
no
like,
bass track.
And then all of a sudden, it was singing. It was like,
I don't know why anybody tunes into this
trap.
podcast. It's in automotive.
Oh my gosh!
Oh man! Thank you for hanging out with us today. We're hanging out with Ben Ayed. I don't know.
There's really no relation between that first story and what
at
we're
all.
talking about
whatsoever.
Oh, you want that on the podcast?
No, it is on the
cut?
podcast.
It's already on the podcast.
We just hit
don't cut
record
anything
when we think Michael's going to say
man.
something he'll regret, and that's the start to our podcast.
That's the start to our formal partnership.
Oh man. Oh yeah. Wait, hold on. We got to take a little 30 extra. I think
For
this
the
is
Auto
first
Collabs
time
audience. Yeah.
we have the Auto Collabs audience listening to an Auto Collabs podcast where Michael Cirillo is an official part of Team ASOTU as the chief of staff. So if you don't know that, give him a little congrats on the old LinkedIn machine or the Facebookery, and welcome him to Team ASOTU officially.
We officially wore him down, Kyle.
Now we know why we're all here. Yeah.
Yeah, we got dirt on him. No.
We reviewed those immigration
farted.
papers. Yeah. We reviewed all the immigration papers. We got them.
Got him. Oh, man. Well, hey, look, all of that kidding aside, we're really excited to introduce you to Ben Ayed, a new friend of ours and the winner of Pitch Tank at NADA, the first championships. So we hope you enjoy this conversation. All right, we are here about to make some trouble, as Paul J. Daly said right before we got on the call, with Ben Ayed, the winner of our very, very first 2023 Pitch Tank Championships. He's the founder and CEO of Auto Service AI. We'll get to that in a minute. Ben, you live in Silicon Valley. What we found out. We won't give your exact street address. We'll just tell people halfway where you are in the world. But you live in Silicon Valley. Tell me about that, because it's got to be a distinct thing walking around with some of the world's brightest developers and technology companies and that, and you've been a part of some of them. Talk about just like, what is that like, being in an environment where you walk into a coffee shop and this guy just coded how to crack a government safe, right?
Absolutely. It's a very interesting experience. I mean, I was born in Europe and France, grew up in Africa. I started, my company when I was in Africa, actually. My first customer was in Australia, and then Israel and the US. I was shipping these interesting invention, that kind of Bluetooth marketing device. And then, as a dream of every inventor, kind of future entrepreneur, is like Silicon Valley, right? And then I made it. I'm so glad I came here. It really is what is famed for, right? I meet with some of the leaders in the industry. I had a company in security. I met with Dr. Tahir El-Gamal, the inventor of SSL, like security, like when you go in the browser, say HTTPS. I met with Diffie. He's the inventor of Diffie-Hellman algorithm. It's used in security. It's really, really nice. Whoever you want to meet, he's right in the coffee shop in Palo Alto, and you just sit with them.
So do these people have like you recognize them by the way they look? Like, how do you identify, or are they just local celebrities in Silicon Valley?
These are tech celebrities.
Yeah, well, it's like you need to know like who to look for, obviously, right? If you're in doing something interesting, you need to know how to find the people and who are they and how to approach them. It's part of the game. but they are very approachable. That's what you find here. It's like, especially when they're in the neighborhood, you ask to meet with them. They're very open. Some of them join my advisory boards. We chat regularly. It really, really boosts your creativity in an interesting way. And then there's this walk, you walk on, University Avenue, or, and then, everybody's talking about round A and round B and round C.
But what about
in the coffee shop and everybody's drawing
There's a checklist for identifying tech entrepreneurs in Silicon Valley. It's like, do they drive a Prius, and are they wearing hoodies? Okay, there's 2 of the 3 requirements to be a tech entrepreneur. When you go to say Seattle, it's different. It's like, are they holding a lifetime supply of Starbucks and have those tweed jackets with the elbow pads?
Oh no, you had to go at him. You had to go at him like that. That's unbelievable.
What does it mean though, growing a business in that environment? What does Paul kind of said it under his breath a little bit? I heard it. He said proximity. What does that proximity mean for you growing a business? Does it accelerate it? Does it sometimes get in the way? What could you share with other entrepreneurs in the space?
Yes, you go through different life cycles, right? I mean, initially, when you're young, you want to meet a lot of smart people, and you want to kind of bounce your ideas and learn from them, and maybe collaborate with some of them. There's a lot of tech events, so that help a lot. And then, I was at a phase where, I was stuck in some of my companies. Like I could grow and I could, really find some beachheads and go in, but I could not grow like some of the big, companies like Amazon, for example. So in my career, I had to make a choice. Like, I really need to go and know and understand what Amazon is about.
You worked for Amazon for a while,
yes.
Right?
Yeah, I had to take time off, from my project, my companies, and really go and put myself on the block and sell myself to them. Wow. And then go from the inside and really understand, which it's different. It's actually even different. I worked in Seattle. I actually flew every week to Seattle. My wife said, you have to do it. You have to go. And for 2 years I was back and forth every week. But the lessons you learn at Amazon is more than you learn in Silicon Valley. It's incredibly interesting company, and it's the training, that the brain training and that you get out of it is it's out of this world.
So how do you think those lessons have prepared you for founding something that is uniquely your tech for the automotive industry? What were some of like the key moments that you can say, like, that was a moment that's been pivotal in my approach to technology now?
Absolutely. Well, all my family is entrepreneurs, and some of them are super successful. And since I was young, I was groomed to be kind of an entrepreneur, at least in my mind. And then I had my company out of my first company when I was out of university, and then I had my second. But then, at some point, like everyone, you learn more and you make mistakes and you raise money here and you learn people and what I'm finding now is, having had a lot of experience, having worked for Amazon, I also worked for X-Time. Like, you learn a lot, with age. You learn a lot of, kind of, DNA of these companies, what it makes, company to be successful, and then what it makes a company be super successful. And then, what are some of the opportunities in the market? And you get some from here, some of them from there, and you're able to kind of push them together and put them out. The funny thing is, initially, my very first companies were my inventions. It's like, oh, I need this for myself. And like, oh, what a great thing. And you try to push it and you create for the market. And then as you start working for some other companies, you're actually able to spot some needs in the market and like people telling you that they need this. And now you're able to bring that invention brain with that market brain, put them together and bring something that's interesting. In most cases, I'm that kind of person that's very persistent and there's a problem, I have to solve it, right? But most of the times, ahead of the market. I have 20 patents, right? Today, probably about 150 to 100 million people using some of my technology, one way or the other. When you log into Google, you're using my technology. When you look like the two-factor authentication Google is using, I invented that.
Yes.
When you
hold on. If we have a mic, do we have a mic around here? Because I just want to be like, let's drop that mic right there.
Okay.
He's like, yeah, you wouldn't have been
Someone
able to
ask a
log into this
question
call
here.
today if it wasn't for me.
Wait, so you're saying you're the dude I gotta complain to for two-factor authentication?
I'm the one that simplified the life of millions of people. It
What
used to
he
be read a
likes, what
number
he
and type it
prefers,
in,
he
right?
Okay, so
prefers
wait,
to say
wait. Walk
he's
back,
the
walk
dude you
back,
have to
because
thank. Right?
What's unique about? Okay, so let's talk about that, because I think that this will draw this conversation forward. But when you were presented with, I don't know if this was with a company or this was a patent that then got bought, but when you were presented with this problem, when you were thinking about the login authentication, I'm guessing it's something around Auth0 or something like that. I don't know exactly what your patent is on, but when you were presented with that initially, and that was going to get plugged into something, what was the challenge you were solving, and then how did that get solved in the piece that you had to play?
Yes, I was solving how you can secure iOS apps on iPads, and then I was able to tie them into a device initially, so you can secure them with a device, and then I was able to tie them into your mobile phone, and then I patented that login to apps through Bluetooth with another device that does the kind of two-factor authentication. I mean, I learned this thing,
Right.
because I had to solve some needs that I had, or some market needs, and I had to hire the doctors in security that instructed me about this and this and that, and we were able to craft things, and then start to work on some customers, like I think Lowell Police at the time, where they had iPads and bikes, and policemen were carrying them bikes, and they were interested in securing them with a phone. So if they drop their iPad, they stop working, or the app stops working. So they were very interested in that. And then they're like, okay, well, we want to bring this to the PC. How can you do that? So then we start thinking about how can secure the browser with your phone, right? And that became the how you can lock your browser, or you walk away it locks, or you have your phone, therefore you can open your apps in your browser. We had I think the chief of police of Lowell Police is like, I got 50 passwords and I have to log into CJIS for federal database, and can you help me with that? So we're able to kind of have them.
You have a very interesting life, it seems. Like all the things you're
He's the
I think
Liam Neeson of
Cirillo's
technology.
like forehead has been like this for about 7 minutes at this point.
furrowed brow.
Ben's the Liam Neeson of technology. I have a very particular set of skills. I'm sitting over here. I'm like, oh yeah, Ben. Well, I built a HTML website with Yahoo GeoCities when I was 13. Boom.
Oh yeah.
I
Ben.
love I'm at inbox 0 today.
Oh, that's better than I'm doing. That's better than I'm doing.
That is spectacular.
Wow.
I had no clue. How does that position you? Kind of touching on Kyle's point, I'd really love to get your insight into how all of that experience positioned you to do what you're doing with Auto Service AI.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things, right? I worked at X time, so I had a time where I was burned out by Amazon, and I needed some break. A company could just go and do. I was a product director, so I didn't have to do a lot
So
of
you
work.
just show up, eat the donuts,
Yeah, make good money, all that stuff, right? And meanwhile, I had this project. I always have 10 projects on the side, like trying this and this and that, and trying to start different companies. So I needed a break. I needed to, and then I discovered this whole world of automotive, and I was looking at X Times, like they make $100 million a year, and they have 100 people sitting in front of me, and most of them are I mean, they didn't look like the smartest people in the world.
You can say it.
They don't even.
Something is wrong with the world.
Tweed jackets or anything.
And I don't want to say anything bad about it, but at one point we had the president of Cox Automotive come, and he make a speech, right? And then I had to go to my boss and said, "Look, not a single time did he talk about customer. He didn't mention the word customer once. What kind of a company is this? How can you make $100 million without even mention a customer in the speech to employees that last 1 hour? It's anyway. It was interesting company. I had
No, we're trying to let you get yourself in trouble. That's what we do.
Yeah, I
here.
know. And you know what? So I was, looking at the data. I launched two-way texting. My buddy launched the consumer portal, and then, had the lady that worked on the in the dealer portal, right? And then, I like the stats from my buddy. Every week we come and it's like, we have 72% drop rate on consumer booking, right? I'm like,
Right.
what is this, right? How could you be in a business where 72% of people cannot even use your tools, right? So after a while, seeing meeting after meeting and the same numbers don't budge, you know, I have to go solve that problem for him, right? So I went in my garage, in my living room, kind of got
Went
these
to the
tools
coffee
and
shop.
like playing with this technology and AI and all that stuff. And they built a little mock-up. And then in Amazon Words, and they have to when you have an idea, you have to go and write what's called a six-pager document, right?
I've heard
You have
about
to
that.
explore
Actually.
it and where it's going to be in 10 years and why you should do it and why now and FAQs. And so I wrote that. And I went to my boss. I was super happy. I had set up a meeting with him. I said, look, I think we're doing things wrong. I built a small prototype. I wrote six-pager, and then the guy looked at me like, who are you? Who do you think you are? You can, do these things and come and tell us what you should do. And
That's
he
how
didn't
you know
call
you're
me
on the right
number.
path, by the way. That's how you know
Yeah.
when your boss
You
says
done
that.
something right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Oh, thank you for that.
And believe
affirmation.
me, he put a black mark on my back, and I had to leave after that. So
That's a good
and
affirmation,
that's
though.
how I found out the service AI. It was like maybe 5 years ago or something like that, and I knew the market. Initially, we started working in the restaurants. I went to my neighbors; they had restaurants. We used it to sell menus, believe it or not, sell it on the phone. And then I had a customer, a friend of mine, and a realtor in the east side, in the coast, and they called him. It's like, hey, I'm building this thing. Would you be my customer? I say yes. And it's like, oh, how much would you pay me for this? It's like $100. So okay, you done deal. So he was my first paying customer. I think the restaurant was my second paying customer. And then he started honing it because thinking like if we were to cater to the biggest problem, which is, restaurants really, really tough business, right? They don't pay much. You have all these weird menus, and you have people speaking to you with Chinese accent, speaking Vietnamese menu, and you imagine like how you have to cater to all these words said in different
Right.
kind of languages or said in different
Wow.
accents.
No doubt.
And we had to make it work, and we did succeed. So when we went to dealers, we had this platform that's super super strong, and day one put it in starts working, right? So my longest year has been on that for 4 years. Start seeing the money coming. It's like, wow, increase 15% in service, and it's like, wow, yeah.
And, I mean, the nice thing about a Vietnamese menu is that once you learn what number 54 is, you just always order 54.
Same on every menu.
That was good the last time.
Yeah, it's like, that's it. I learned it once. I'm wondering, could it get that predictable for service menus if customers just knew they were coming in for the number 12 and knew what that meant?
No.
And
That would solve big problems, man. If we could teach customers, then they could go to X time online and then book themselves in 2 minutes. The problem is they can
What's
make themselves online. So.
Like with all so auto service AI, just so if someone doesn't know, like I'll give them the brief rundown because I want to ask the deeper question than just like what's the product. Basically, it's a phone service that intercepts the call and utilizing AI allows the customer to book an appointment without a human interaction, and then taps into your appointment setting system to make sure that it's honoring like all of your hours, your availability, puts the appointment in so that the customer can just do it seamlessly, and it saves a lot of time on both sides. But when you're looking at this, what are most people, where is their trip up? Because I'm guessing that the reason why most people go from like the website to the phone is because they've had an issue. They like it wasn't as easy as they wanted it to be. What's that like first layer that most people are attempting to have happen that you're seeing in these conversations, maybe with your data, that are the barriers to creating a service appointment that requires the phone call?
Totally. So, there are a couple of ways to answer. So, number one, we're really not necessarily like service only. We're really like, robots. If you can think of it, just, I have a business and I have people, but my people are can only work 8 hours, and I need 24-hour service. Okay, well, I put a person and a robot, right? So it's like robots for retail that can do silly stuff, and yes, we answer the phone, we actually do other things for them. But that's the philosophy, is like, we it's not about replacing people, but it's like the idea that people and robots complement each other and can make the customer experience bulletproof, and impeccable. Like, as a person, and when I'm dealing with a customer, right, I only have limited bandwidth. I can only deal with one customer at a time. Literally,
Yep.
if I'm at a store, I'm on the phone, whatever. If I'm even doing work in the house, like, I can only do one job at a time. I only have one time, and I'm linear, right? And therefore, when you have a business that sometimes they have peak time, they have 10 customers come to them, at the same time, right? And there's only one salesperson. What are you gonna do, right? So you're gonna have that person that's gonna take care of one customer really well, and then you need these robots that, if you happen to have more than one customer coming, then the robot is going to go and take care of all the other customers. And that way you're always 100% of the time, you're taking care of 100% of the customers. Now, the robots, you tell me, well, they're not as good as human, but they're good at other things, which is scalability. Okay. So now with your team,
Consistency.
you have the
Yeah.
customer experience. With the robots, you have the scalability. And with that, you cover 100%. Like, you have a service level agreement, Mr. Customer. Even if you bring in 100 customers to us, they come on the bus and come to my shop, I'll be able to serve you all at any time, 24/7. And if you want the personal attention, yes, we do have people. They're going to give you personal attention to those that need personal attention, that have complex problems, right? The ones that really need problem solving. So that, and what we're finding, the mix is explosive wherever you take it.
I love where you said you have a service level agreement with your customers. For those that maybe aren't in technology or don't, haven't seen what is known as an SLA, right? Always in an SLA, there, especially at enterprise agreements, there's this little section that's called uptime, right? And
Yes.
the greater your SLA, typically your uptime goes from anywhere from like 99.1% to 99.9% uptime, right? Depending on the degree of your enterprise SLA, meaning that's how it's going to serve, right? Your website will always work, or the technology will always work. That's software, right? In a dealership, like, our uptime is typically like 60%, right? Because that's how much of the day.
Is it?
And so you get the that's
we
how much
turn
of
them
the day.
into like 99.99% uptime. They're always open
Uptime.
businesses, sales, service, parts.
What if
wherever
what
you
if
go,
we just
like,
started like
boom.
signing we have a new service SLA for all of our customers, and we just like slid that over at time of delivery. It's like, we're gonna give you 99.9%
I mean, we have
uptime.
3 things, right? Number one, we're always going to be there for you. You call us anytime. We're always going to be there for you. Your car breaks, or you want to buy something, you want to, whatever, right? Number two, if, somebody cannot help you now, within 1 hour, somebody will help you. Okay. So regardless, if you leave a message, because maybe I can't help you because I'm limited, but I'll guarantee to you that your problem going to be solved. Like, somebody's going to come to you and you'll help you within 1 hour. And number three, well, you're never going to queue. You're never, ever. It's always, you're going to come very quickly. Somebody will take care of you. There's nothing like, not even like a minute, of waiting. It's our lives are worth a lot more than having to wait in front of a business to buy something, right? So, and it all translates. I mean, this comes from Amazon. This is something they drill into you, right? Day one. We all get 1 hour of training. Like, they hire 80,000 people a year, whatever. We all get 1 hour training. They drill to you day one. We have, when I was there, we had maybe 100 million customers in the USA. We get maybe over 1 million calls a day. Guess how many calls we miss? 0.
Wow.
I mean,
That's unbelievable.
so you imagine, like, I go to work at X time and I hear that there's drop rate and missed
man,
calls,
there's the
and people
juxtaposition.
cannot book themselves. I'm like, this is a zoo.
Wow. Well, Ben, it has been an absolute pleasure. First, I want to congratulate you on winning the pitch tank at NADA. That's phenomenal. Congratulations to the success you're having and basically infiltrating every touch point of my life that I didn't know you were involved in. But certainly want to thank you for sharing some time with us today here on the Auto Collabs podcast.
It's been a pure pleasure. Thank you so much. Everybody gets 30 seconds of fame, right, in their life, and thank you for offering me that opportunity.
Okay, how legit is it when the person you're interviewing is like, I invented two-factor authorization?
The visual that came to my mind was my wife and I laying in bed and like him sitting up against the headboard between us. And every time I like
weird.
Yeah, it's like I open my cell phone and he's like, I invented that. My wife goes to like turn out the light. Oh, I invented that. It's like we clap, just like the clapper, and he's like, oh yeah, I patented that. Because what did he say? He said he had like over 100 patents or something. Did I hear that right?
Yeah, no, over 50 patents and like millions of people, millions upon millions of people utilizing some level of his technology. And what I love about that is that you constantly see these solopreneurs or entrepreneurs, just there's an insatiable appetite for creating solutions to problems that they see in verticals. And so having never been in the auto industry, enters X Time and goes, I see a problem, I need to create this solution, and then brings that back and now enables dealers to better serve customers and create an incredible lifetime value, because the ability to schedule a service appointment is so important. Right. And it's something that's hard because of like the available staff that we can put into those positions. So,
well, how about the fact that circle, when you think of the importance of bringing outside automotive perspective into automotive, when he's like, I stepped in from Amazon, he's like, you know what? We took 1 million calls a day, 1 million. You know how many we dropped? Zero. So all of a sudden, like it's, you know, I have a friend who was a Special Forces Marine, and he would always say, it's not what you teach, it's what you tolerate. And that just reminded me of that moment. Like it just was the norm, is the norm for automotive to tolerate that level of dropped calls or unanswered calls, when there are lots of scenarios and examples of the fact that like, hey, 0 is the tolerance level. Right? We should have a solution so that 0 get dropped. So I was really impressed and encouraged by that fact that outside automotive thinking is making its way inside automotive.
Well, on behalf, oh no, you're gonna keep going. You're gonna keep going. You want to do that to me?
Haven't you done enough to
get us out of this deal?
Hey, on behalf of this
deal before he writes another patent.
Michael Cirillo and Paul J. Daly, we hope you've had a ton of fun today hanging out with us, hanging out with Ben Aid on Auto Collabs. We'll see you next time.
Welcome to Auto Collabs.
Why are we recording? Are we rolling yet?